Mr. Drew Waters, Kansas City Royal. He's 23 years old. I'm just not a huge fan of Drew Waters, but he has had some pretty decent years in the minors. Actually, kind of impressive numbers. Ross, why don't you dive into the numbers a little bit and give us what you got?
I'm interested in hearing your perspective, actually, because this guy was a few years ago, he was rising up a lot of rankings. And I wouldn't say he came out of nowhere, but he was kind of a surprise rising into top 100 lists.
Dude, he could have touched top 10 in some of the rankings. It was close.
Possible.
Yeah.
In some, I mean, probably the more obscure ones, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was certainly moving up there. I'm looking at some of the big lists right now, and he was top 30, even cracked into the top 20s on MLB.com's list in 2020. So he moved down a little bit on MLB's list, but he continued to move up on like Baseball America, Baseball Prospectus. I'm sort of surprised, and I feel that he's still prospect eligible now. He's had some major league exposure, 109 plate appearances. He's still prospect eligible. But I think after this season, his stock is going to drop. Do you agree or disagree?
I would. Well, I mean, obviously, on the way he plays, I mean, he might start in that Royals outfield, so we could see a big taste of him as early as, well, it'll be this year.
Okay. Well, let me run through the stats, and let's see if this changes your mind. So when he really started moving up the list was about 2019, but he had a couple decent seasons before that. Rookie level in 2017 as an 18-year-old, he hit 278 with a 362 OBP and a 429 slugging percentage. The power wasn't there yet. In fact, he wasn't really showing a lot, not a lot of stolen base numbers, not a lot of counting stats. But he was a young kid at that time. 2018, this is, I think, where his stock started rising a little bit. Yeah. He hit 294 with a 343 OBP and a 476 slugging percentage. 9 home runs on that season, almost 500 plate appearances, so a pretty large sample, and 23 stolen bases. And 2019, this is where you started seeing him become a top 100 type of prospect. And this is interesting to me. The surface stats look good. The slash line looks nice. 309 batting average, 360 OBP, and a 459 slugging percentage. He hit 7 home runs, so not a ton of over-the-fence power still, but continuing to develop 16 stolen bases. The flip side of that is he struck out 164 times.
Yep.
So this was a guy that I was always skeptical because of that. His plate discipline is, in my estimation, a little questionable. Along with those 164 strikeouts, he only had 39 walks. So not a lot of walks, a lot of strikeouts. But still, he was just 20 years old, and he was playing in the high minors. That was across AA and AAA. A little bit of slack should be deserved for somebody that young. So as a 22-year-old, he repeated AAA. His numbers were way down. Yeah. He hit 240 with a 329 OBP and a 381 slugging percentage. His numbers on the season were 269 batting average, 345 on base percentage, and a 460 slugging percentage. The most power he's shown so far in the minor leagues really was this year, at least over the fence power. Mm-hmm. Continued to run. He stole 18 bases, so pretty decent counting stats. So not bad, but I'm still skeptical of this guy and his ability to be a successful major leaguer.
So I want to touch on just stats in general. So in 2019, he had 163 hits. He struck out 164 times. So he had more strikeouts than hits. That wasn't the last time he will do that. He did that in 21, and he had 97 hits and 142 strikeouts.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
So like a serious problem. That's not a small problem. That's like holy cow problem.
Yeah.
Like turn around and walk as fast as you possibly can out of the dark alley.
Well, and another red flag is he was traded from the Braves to the Royals. So I think he had a nice bounce back after he went to the Royals, but I think that indicates that the Braves were moving on from him. They no longer valued him as a top prospect. So that's another factor to take into consideration as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted a little highlight. I was really excited to see an outfield of Ronald Acuna Jr., Christian Pache, and Drew Waters. They were all three center fielders. They were all really good at defense. And then the bats were going to kind of start, showing up. Acuna's already got his bat and everything, but it was going to be those three, and it was just going to be this really dynamic outfield. And now Pache is in Oakland and Drew Waters is in Royal.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and of course visit our website, scoutthestatline.com for more.